Hello my sexy gamers, this is Tech Gamer channel here with another video of Minecraft. Now I have instructions for you. This is going to be a creepy story video. I want you guys to do three things for me. 3 or 4 things for me. I want you to go into the dark room with your computer, or make sure you wherever you're at, where your computer is in a dark room. If not, just wait until nighttime. Make sure there are no distractions around you, such as people, vibrating phones, or anything else. Turn up the volume all the way because I will be telling a scary story as you watch me play Tekkit. As this is going on, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and remember, no distractions, dark room, volume up, and just watch the video and enjoy. And you will know, and I will tell you the title of the story, and just listen to it. Alright, my name is Tech Gamer channel, and I hope you enjoy this video. Hello my sexy gamers, this is Tech Gamer channel here, as you have just seen. Okay, so this right here will be called Amelia. Now, let me tell you something here. Amelia had just turned out of her bedroom light. She laid in her head on her soft goose feathered pillow. It was 3 in the morning, and she got lost in her writing. Amelia was 24, real estate agent who lived by herself in a small one-bedroom house in southern New Jersey. She had been by herself and had been working on a novel about a serial killer for the past 8 months. She got to thinking her ideas would pretty much write themselves, and she would often lose track of time. As she closed her eyes and began to drift off to sleep, when she heard a light tap at her bedroom window, she got up to check outside for a clue as to what was making this noise. What could possibly be making this noise, she thought. But when she looked outside, she saw nothing of interest, and dismissed the sound of the mixture of paranoia and lack of sleep. As she laid back on her bed and started to close her eyes, she heard the tapping noise again, and this time she ignored it and closed her eyes. But a few moments later, she heard the noise again, and only louder. Amelia jumped out at the sound of the obnoxious tapping. She leaped out of bed and ran to the window to see what it was. Again, she had seen nothing, and chills ran down her spine. She thought she might have been going crazy, but checked the locks on the windows throughout the house just to be safe. She started at 2 windows in her bedroom, continuing to the kitchen, and to sitting in the sitting room, and finally ending in her bathroom. After she made sure all the windows were secure, she made her way back to her bedroom, only to find a startling discovery. Her bedroom window had somehow opened a cool night breeze and was blowing her curtains in an eerie manner. The hair on the back of her neck stood up on end, and her stomach sunk as 1,000 horrific ideas ran through her mind. Amelia was frozen in the doorway. She couldn't get the idea of someone being in her house out of her mind. Not knowing how to react to the situation at hand, she stood completely still, unable to move. After 10 minutes of utter fear and panic, she began to relax and started to think rationally. She figured that maybe she had left it open, maybe on accident. That was late, and it was silly to make mistakes, typical for her behavior. Amelia closed and locked the window. She went to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife she could find, and began to search the house. She searched the closets, checked behind her shower curtain, even in the kitchen cabinets, just to be safe. Making her way back up to the room, still clutching the knife tightly in her hand. As she cautiously entered her bedroom, she gave another thorough search, checking the windows, checking the closets, under the bed, checking again the windows just to make sure they were locked. Lying on her bed, the knife was on her nightstand. She wearily crawled into her bed, replaying the events that had just taken place over and over again in her mind. She had mustered up the courage to close her eyes and tried to sleep when the knife had placed next to her bed suddenly flew across the room and stuck into the wall. That's all she needed to see. Hastily grabbed the car keys and made a sprint to the front door. As she made it out of the room, around the corner of her hallway, heading towards the sitting room, something had knocked her flat on her back. As she tried to collect herself, recover from the bump on her head, all the while trying to process what had just occurred, she had found herself being slowly dragged back to her bedroom. Amelia was grabbed desperately at the wall, at the floor. She's trying to get a grip on something so she could pull away. But she pulled back into her bedroom. The invisible force had thrown her against her bed and slammed the door shut. She ran into it, trying to force open it. With all her might, the knob would not budge. She ran into the windows, but they wouldn't unlock. She tried to scream as much noise as she is hoping a neighbor would hear and come to check on her. She couldn't accept that this was happening. She wouldn't let herself believe it. She tried to convince herself that it was a horrible dream, that it was time to wake up, but she could not. And an immense fear had begun to wash over her body. The room grew cold, and Amelia began hearing whispers. Amelia was consumed by immersed fear and horror, and tried with all her power to scream again, but no sounds came out. Shaking with horror, she laid on her head and covered her ears, hoping everything would go away, but the whispers began to grow louder and louder. It went from whispers to indulgible mumbling. All she heard was to clear but unintelligible speech, to sporadic laughter. Her blood ran cold as she felt a pair of ice-cold, invisible hands wrap themselves around her neck. She could not see the assailant, but could feel his presence. Icy breath on her face as it tightened its grip around her throat and began to drain the life from Amelia. The laughter grew louder as the grip grew tighter, and she could feel her life slipping away. Eyes rolling back, the world became dark as she was consumed by nothingness of death. Everything was dark, and Amelia was free from this nightmare at last. The next day, Amelia had woken. Not really sure what had happened the night before as she made her way to the bathroom. She had dismissed the last night's events as an extremely vivid nightmare. Looking into the mirror, preparing to brush her teeth, as she did every morning, large blue-purple handprints were etched onto her neck. The fear that she had experienced from the night before returned as she began to panic, remembering every detail that she had pretty much experienced. Everything was coming back. Before she had time to think, the words began to appear in her bathroom mirror in scarlet-colored liquid. She could only assume that it was blood. Tears started to roll down her face as she read the words and seemed to write themselves. Your life is mine.